Hello there, fellow data enthusiasts. Welcome back to our SPSS tutorial series. In today's video, we are diving into the world of hypothesis testing as we walk you through the steps to perform an independent samples t-test analysis using SPSS. So, grab your data and let's get started. Alright, independent samples t-test with SPSS. The independent samples t-test is a fantastic tool for comparing means between two distinct groups, and SPSS makes it incredibly easy to perform this analysis. Whether you are a student, a researcher, or a professional, understanding this process will greatly enhance your statistical analysis skill. Alright, let's break down the steps to perform an independent samples t-test using SPSS. But before we go into the steps to perform an independent samples t-test, there are assumptions that you should take note of before considering performing independent samples tests. There are about 6 assumptions. So the first assumption is that you must have one dependent variable that is measured at continuous level. Assumption 2 is that you must have one independent variable, that is a dichotomous variable that consists of two categorical variables. I've explained this in my previous videos. Assumption 3, you should have independence of observations. That is, there is no relationship between the observations in each group of the independent variable or between the groups themselves. Example, one cannot be in a female group and male group at the same time. They are always different. So assumption 4, there should be no significant outliers in the two groups of your independent variable in terms of the dependent variable. Assumption 5, your dependent variable should be approximately normally distributed for each group of the independent variable. And the last assumption is that there should be homogeneity of variances. So if you fail to meet the assumptions of t-test, you can as well use Mann-Whitney U-test, which computes median. So independent sample t-test is meant to answer the following hypothesis. The null hypothesis is that the population means of the two groups are equal, while the alternate hypothesis is that the population means of the two groups are not equal. So another thing you should know is that if the p-value is less than 0.05, the independent t-test is said to be statistically significant. So now let's dive into the steps for performing independent samples t-test. First of all, you have to import your data. You begin by launching SPSS, as many of you might know, and importing your data file. Ensure that you have a separate column for each groups you are comparing. You can as well type in these data sets. So, alright, instead of saying all this, I'll show you these steps while we carry out our analysis. Let me just go through it though. So open the analysis menu, head over to the analyze menu at the top of the screen and select compare means. Then choose the independent samples t-test. Alright, so let's do it practically and enough of all the talks. Alright, so here we have a data set of gender and engagement scores, trying to find the engagement score between male and female in a TV station. So we have our data set here, 40 participants, 4 cases. So alright, so you click on analyze. Alright, so next we'll click on compare means. So from compare means, you choose independent samples t-test, click on it. Alright, so we have this dialog here. Alright, so now we have this test variables box and we have the grouping variable. So now the test variable box is for the dependent variable, while the grouping variable is for the gender, which is the independent variable. So now we move the gender to the grouping variable, then this test variables will move engagement score to the test variables. Alright, so now you can see it's showing gender and we have a question mark in the bracket. So you click on define groups. Alright, so when you click on define groups, as you can see here, we have group 1 and group 2. So now our male and our gender has been coded into 1 for male and 2 for female. So we have 2 groups. So we are going to type in 1 and we are going to type in 2 here. Assuming we have like 4 groups, maybe we have amateur, professional, novice, and the last one. So we can just type in 1 here and 4. But since we have just 2 groups here, we type in 1 and 2. Then continue. Alright, so we have that. Then click on options. I will leave it at exclude cases analysis by analysis. So that's it. Click OK. Alright, so once the analysis is complete, SPSS generates a comprehensive output. So you should pay attention to the significant value in the t-test row, which is this. This is your p-value. Significant value is a p-value. But before them, I would like to explain some other things. Like you should have to check whether the population variance are equal. You need to consult the significant value column located under the Levene's test. Under the Levene's test for equality of variance column. In this example, the significant value is 0.160. Yes, 0.160. So if the population variance of both groups is equal, this test will return a p-value greater than 0.05. So this means that the population variances are equal because this p-value, which is significant value, is greater than 0.05. So if the indicating that you have met the assumption of homogeneity of variance. However, if the test returns a p-value less than 0.05, population variances are unequal and you have violated the assumption of homogeneity of variances. Alright, so other things you should know is that the Levene's test for equality of variances tests the null hypothesis that the population variances are equal, or to state another way, that the two groups of the samples are drawn from populations with the same variances. Alright, so next thing that we should look at is the mean differences. As you can see here, there is a mean difference between the male and the female. So the male has the highest mean than that of the female. So determine the mean difference between the two groups and provide a measure of the likely range. So this is the mean difference here. You can also see the standard deviation difference. We'll make use of the mean difference most times. Alright, so now we have our significant value here of 0.163. So to determine whether the independent sample's t-test is statistically significant, that is, the mean difference is statistically significant, you need to consult the middle portion, which is this, in the independent samples test table, which is this table. and we have here 0.160. Okay, so to report your results, you are presented with the observed t value, which is this, and the degree of freedom, which is this, and the statistical significance value of the two-tail, which is this. Alright, so if the p-value, which is this significant value of two-tailed, is less than 0.05, this means that the mean difference between the two groups is statistically significant. Alternatively, if the p-value is greater than 0.05, you do not have a statistically significant mean difference between the two groups. So in this example, as you can see, we have 0.123, which is greater than 0.05. Yes, so this automatically means that there is no statistically significant mean difference between the two groups. That's it. That's just how you interpret the results of independent samples t-tests. It's that easy. Therefore, it can be concluded that the males and female don't have statistically significant different mean engagement score. Or you can phrase it another way, that the mean difference in engagement score between males and female is not statistically significant. Alright, so and that is it. You have successfully performed an independent samples t-test analysis using SPSS. Remember, interpreting results is as important as running the analysis. If you are new to SPSS, don't worry, practice makes perfect. Alright, so thank you for joining us today. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more data analysis tutorials. If you have any questions or topics you would like us to cover, feel free to drop a comment below. Happy analyzing. Thank you. We'll catch you in the next tutorial. Until then, keep exploring and discovering the wonders of data.